Oh, y'all are here. And just a bit early too. I'm still on my lunch. I wonder what we could do. Oh. What do you say we build a fully functioning smart TV inside a Big Mac box? Why, you ask? Because it's quarantine, I'm bored, and we can. Let's get into it. Using our tech know-how and the engineering design cycle, let's devise a plan to approach this problem. If you haven't had a chance to check out our video outlining the design cycle yet, click the link down below. Alright, the first step of the engineering design cycle is define and research. So what are the parameters of our problem? Well, obviously, the form factor is quite restrictive. A Big Mac box is not very big. Furthermore, it's not very sturdy and will need some reinforcement. Finally, we need some sort of computer that can run the streaming services of our media center. Our next step is Brainstorm. So let's answer some of those questions we posed in our last step.
With regard to the form factor, we know we won't have the room to fit any full-size parts into our box. Thus, going online and ordering a motherboard is completely out of the question. Not to mention that this would be extremely expensive, and that's no fun.
This being said, we don't need the most powerful computer to run a streaming device. In fact, if you have an Apple TV or a Roku at home, you would know that these can be quite small. A very inexpensive and compact solution is a Raspberry Pi, and you may have heard of these fantastic devices. These are basically just mini computers, and they're used for things like retro game emulation, Minecraft servers, desktops, and many more. When it comes to strengthening the box, we can get kind of life hacky with it. That's why I'm suggesting to use popsicle sticks in order to keep our costs down. I suggest the following cutouts to reinforce our box. If you do decide to try this build, you can come up with your own shapes and cutouts. Get creative. Now for the fun part, design and create. With all of the planning out of the way, we can start building our box. The first thing I'm going to do is reinforce the box using the popsicle sticks as I've previously mentioned.
Let's begin by taking some measurements and cutting our popsicle sticks to the right dimensions. I'm first going to use my ruler to check the dimensions of our box. Once that's done, I'm going to glue those right in with some hot glue.
With all that done, let's get started on electronics. Here we have the Raspberry Pi that we'll have to put into our Big Mac box.
First things first, let's get the Raspberry Pi installed. This should be relatively simple, but let's just make sure we align it properly and that all the pieces fit in nicely. We also need to make sure that our input/output is still accessible by cutting out some holes in our box so that we can plug in additional peripherals such as a keyboard or a remote control receiver.
Finally, let's install an operating system called LibreLec onto our Raspberry Pi. LibreLec is an open source operating system that has just what you need to run the Kodi Media Center. An operating system is basically just the basic software that you need to run other applications. Common examples include Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android.
In order to run LibreLec on our Raspberry Pi, we'll have to first go to their website. You can find the link to this in our description. From there, we will be downloading their software that allows us to burn the image of their operating system onto a micro SD card. You'll want to download the file that corresponds to the operating system you are currently using. In my case, I'm using Windows, so I will download this one. We will also want to pick up the image of LibreLec that corresponds to the device we are installing it on. In my case, a Raspberry Pi 4. Once you've downloaded the file, it will prompt you with a few different questions. I'll select the microSD that I want to use according to its name, and I'll select the file for the image of LibreLec. Just like that, you'll have LibreLec on your SD card, and you can just insert the card directly into the Raspberry Pi. Alright, next up in the engineering design cycle is to test our TV. Let's first connect it to the TV using an HDMI cable. As you can see, once we hook everything up, we are prompted with a few setup steps, which we can go through together here. It'll ask us for some basic information, such as language preferences, and you can just fill those in according to your own liking. Once all that basic setup is out of the way, we can get some channels running on our Kodi Media Center. You can explore these yourself, but I'm going to add CBC, HGTV, and Food Network. All you have to do is search up your channel in Video Add-ons, and if it's available, you will be able to just click and install it. There's a website with a list of add-ons, and it is available in the description.
So, we answered the question that absolutely no one asked. You can indeed build a smart TV inside a Big Mac box. Why you would want to? I have no idea. But if you do, you absolutely can. If you enjoy our content, please consider following us on Instagram at ubc.ce. If you do decide to try this design challenge on your own, tag us in that photo to show us your design. If you got any value out of today's video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you want to learn more about youth passionate about STEM, do consider checking out our new podcast, Youth in STEM, that airs every Monday on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, I'm Arthur from Creative Engineering. Keep it weird, YouTube.